All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jose Rivera Hernandez, and I'm the coordinator for student clubs and organizations within Student Life and Leadership. And this is the key TitanLink features session that is part of LeadCon. So in this current presentation, I will be discussing several key TitanLink features that your student organizations will have access to once they complete re-registration. But before we actually get to those features, I do want to talk or spend a little bit of time talking about the TitanLink page that you see in front of you here. So TitanLink is a home where all of our clubs and organizations are housed. Students will submit or reserve spaces on campus and submit event requests through TitanLink. They will also have the ability to, update club pages. It is also a space where students that are not part of clubs can certainly explore many different organizations, events, things that are just happening on campus. So TitanLink is really that one-stop shop for all clubs and organizations. Um, so you all should be, of course, the presidents that are completing the registration process. So I do want to just give you a little bit more information on how to find that registration form if you are, haven't been able to complete that registration or having some trouble finding it. So again, just as a reminder that the re-registration form should be submitted by the incoming president of the organization. So we're going to start by logging into TitanLink. TitanLink will be accessible through your CSUF student email and password. So it's all linked together to your CSUF credentials. So once you log in, we're going to hover over to these three lines and we're going to go ahead and locate the organizations tab. So we're going to go ahead and click that. On this page here, you're going to see some options. You're going to see categories, all of these organizations, and you're going to see the register an organization. We're going to go ahead and click that. On this page, you're going to have a couple options. So to re-register your organization, right, to complete the registration of an existing org that was previously on campus or active before, you're going to go ahead and search or click the little search bar, and you're going to type in the name of the organization. Once you type in that name, you should see a re-register button here on the right side of the page. The only times where you won't see anything here is when the organization's registration was already approved or if it is currently being reviewed by our department. That is the only time when you won't see this little re-register option on the right side of the page. But if you are the incoming president and you are the one submitting this registration form, you will be seeing this option here, and then you will click re-register, and that is going to take you to your organization's registration. If you're a new club on campus you're wanting to register, you're going to click the register a new organization option on the bottom part of the page here. Now let's talk about the registration and accessing that form if we were to deny it for variety of different reasons. You can always go back into your registration form and resubmit it at any time, as long as you are, of course, reviewing the comments that we leave for you to make those revisions. To find a registration form that was previously denied, you're going to click on your profile icon at the top right of the page. Here, you may have a picture or you may just have the first initial of your name. It'll be dependent on how you set up that profile. But if you go ahead and click your little icon, let me move myself over here. We're going to go ahead and click My Submissions. And here you're going to see a variety of different forms that'll look different for everyone. But you're going to pay attention to these key options here. You're going to actually click on the organization's registration tab. Now, I'm not going to click on it because our department doesn't have a registration form. But if your club was denied, if you click this, you should see a registration form listed as such, how it is on screen. If you click that little eyeball icon, that is going to open up the registration form and it will allow you to make edits and changes to that document. Of course, once you make your changes, you're going to go ahead and click resubmit again within that registration form. And then that is going to notify us that it was resubmitted. and we will re-review everything to make sure that those edits were resolved. So we're going to go back to the TitanLink page here, the main page. I want to walk you through some additional steps. So if we scroll down to the campus link section, you're going to see a couple of different forms. The first one is the organizational change form. Now, this form must be submitted anytime there are changes to your president, your treasurer, or your advisors, information within the organization. If there were changes to those positions, we'll want you to let us know through this org change form. You will also submit it anytime there are changes to the name of the organization, or if you're wanting to share and have us upload a revised constitution onto your club page. These next two pages have to do more so with club finances and working with the Philanthropic Foundation and ASI. So let's talk about this first one, which is the donation tax ID W-9 form. This form must be submitted by the treasurer anytime the organization wishes to, or is requesting donations, is working with a fund, or working for a fundraiser, working with an off-campus restaurant. Krispy Kreme is a popular example of a fundraising collaboration that clubs, have had with them. So anytime you're requesting donations, that tax ID for those fundraisers or that W-9 form, you are going to submit this donation tax ID form. Just a couple of details with this form is that this is reviewed by the Philanthropic Foundation. So they are the only department on campus that could provide you a tax ID, W-9, and they actually also review that donation process. So again, if you're wanting to host a fundraiser with Krispy Kreme or some other off-campus organization, restaurant, this form must be submitted first and approved by their department. If you're wanting to host a cash fundraiser on campus, you would submit the cash fundraising and self-setup form after the fundraiser has taken place. If your organization also has membership dues, it would be the same form that you would submit here, and ASI Financial Services would help you in creating that setup for your organization. The last form I'll talk about here is the Clubs and Orgs TSU Food Court Digital Advertising Request Form. So this form is pretty neat because it allows clubs to advertise their events and their meetings within the TSU Food Court area. So if you go ahead and submit that form, you'll have the ability to just promote those events in a different space, a space that is very much, heavily trafficked with students. So it is a great way to advertise your events within the TSU. All right, so now that we've talked about some forms and things that pertain to clubs and orgs, let's go ahead and dive into the actual TitanLink features. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the left side of the page and we're going to click on our organization's gear icon. So this will look different for everyone's page. For your page, of course, you should see your organization's icon. I will be using the Tuffy Fan Club account as an example. But once I click on that gear icon, I'm going to see several different organizational tools. So we're going to go through each of these very briefly. So let's start with About. So for this About page, this is what really constructs the club's information on the back end. Here you are able to edit the name of the organization. You can revise your description. You can add contact information. You can also add external websites and, of course, update any social media information. Once any changes are made, you're going to click Update, and that will update the information. Once the organization is fully registered. I do want to make a quick note about the contact information. So in this section here, anything that you share within this section will be visible to all users in TitanLink. So it is really important that you just be mindful of the information that you're listing. We definitely don't recommend that you list a personal home address because, for obvious reasons, you don't want to share your personal residence with anyone, on campus, or those that have access to TitanLink, shouldn't see that information. So if you're wanting to list an address, we do recommend using the school's address that's listed here. For an email, we recommend that you use a club email. That can be created through Gmail, Yahoo, any of those, email services you're welcome to use. And of course, if you have to have a phone number, maybe it's just a primary contacts number. But other than that, that really should be all of the information that you're listing within the About section. All right, so let's talk about the roster now. So, a couple things with the roster. We are requiring all organizations and clubs to maintain current rosters throughout the year. So, how will those rosters be maintained? Whenever you have access to your club page in TitanLink, excuse me, you're going to click the invite people, and you're going to invite members into your organization, and then they must log into TitanLink and accept their invitations to confirm that they are part of your organization. That is how we're going to, maintain those rosters throughout the academic year. So let's start with how we do that. So let's go ahead and click invite people. And here you're going to have the option to add up to 500 email addresses, right? The best way to do this is to, of course, copy and paste from an Excel sheet or whatever methods you're using to collect those student emails. But you, of course, will have the ability to add up to 500. Once you click add email address, the form is going to prompt you to assign these members a position. And you will be able to pick from the default positions currently available, which should be member, president, treasurer, faculty staff advisor. And then, of course, if you happen to create other positions, you would be able to select from those as well. So let's go back and talk a little bit more about, managing those positions. So if you click manage positions, here you will see the current positions that our current page has. These may differ. The default positions, of course, are event planner, faculty staff advisor, member, officer 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, president, primary contact, treasurer, or the treasurer and financial officer, actually. So those are default positions. Any others that you see here, so student life and leadership staff, graduate assistant, those are positions that I created specifically for this page. So you can really create any positions you'd like for your organization, which is a pretty neat feature. So let's go ahead and click position. It's taking a second to load here. So here you'll see the options to create your position. Of course, you can name the position. You can assign a position template. So out of member, officer, and any of these other positions. You can also, set the level of management access for those new positions that you are creating. Something to note with the access level is that each of these position types will have a set level of management access automatically applied. So, for example, let's say that you are assigning a member position. Members don't typically have much access to any of the features, but if you have a social media person and they are considered an officer, so that's someone that would have those extra responsibilities within the organization, their management access would probably be set to limited or all access, just depending on what you want to assign them. But this social media person should definitely have access to the news section, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But you are able to customize positions that you create and, of course, adjust their management access. All right, so let's go back to this previous page here. And I do want to mention a couple more things. So, of course, you can also export your roster. We recommend doing this, of course, anytime you're wishing to save some of that roster data. It could come in handy, especially when our department will help clear rosters before at the beginning of each, registration period. We are able to clear those rosters, and you will have a backup of members that may still potentially be part of the organization the following semester. So you can always invite these members back. But let's just say that throughout the year, you do notice a drop off in memberships. Maybe you do lose some members during the year. and you're wanting to remove them from the roster because we are asking that those rosters be up to date. What we're going to do is we're going to click or not click, but check the box near the individual's name. And you have two options. You can end memberships, or if there are more than one, right? If you want to do a mass ending of positions or members, you can go ahead and click end all memberships, and that is going to delete more than one of those members from the organization. And that sums up the roster portion. If you would like more information on roster management, we do have a helpful news article within the news section here. And it would actually be called Managing Your Club Roster in TitanLink. So you can always refer to this news article later on. As you can see, there are step-by-step instructions on how to manage your roster. So let's go back to the organizational tools, and now let's talk about events. So events, as we have mentioned at LeadCon, everything that an organization does for events, whether it be meetings or just different types of programming, reserving spaces, everything is funneled through the TitanLink system. So it is funneled through the create an event process. To get to this page, you're going to click your icon and click events. Here, you're going to see some events here. We'll talk about these in just a minute, but let's start off fresh with a create an event. So let's say that we're wanting to reserve a classroom space or an outdoor space. Let's just say Titan Walk. This is a very simple tabling event. So you're going to, of course, fill out the basic information, event title. You can assign the event a specific theme. If is it more of a learning opportunity? Maybe you have a guest speaker tabling with you. Maybe it's a fundraiser. So you can certainly add any of the following themes that best represent your event. Within the description, you can go ahead and, of course, add a description about your event. If you're collaborating with other clubs, you can go ahead and tag them here. This will also share the event information with those members or those co-hosting organizations. Here you can add information about the time and place, the start date, start time and date. And you can go ahead and add a location. So whichever location you add by clicking the location tab, that is the space that we are going to attempt to reserve for you. Of course, if your space is unavailable, we will notify you and help you find some different options for your events in terms of space reservations. You also have an online location option. So if you're hosting a meeting on Zoom and you're wanting to just promote that, you can go ahead and add that information under online location. And then you can also add other dates, right? So you can make these events or meetings reoccurring. So you can add as many dates as you would like to, let us know that this event will be happening more than once, or even meetings. So you have those options as well. So let's talk about the event visibility. So you have a couple of options here. If you set the visibility to the public, this will basically allow people, individuals that may not even be part of the CSUF, may not even have TitanLink credentials, to still go to the TitanLink website and view events that are taking place. So just keep in mind that if you are choosing to make it a public event, anyone can see this event information regardless of their status with the university. If you make this event only visible to students and staff at TitanLink, that means that only registered students and, of course, those with a TitanLink account through CSUF credentials would have access to see information about the event. If you want to only open it up or keep it visible to organization members, you can do that. Or you can only keep this event open or visible by invitation only. So only you inviting others to register for this event. And then let's go ahead now. And so we're actually going to go back because this is going to have me fill out the form. And we actually are going to review an event request that was already created. That way we can go ahead and go further into the form so that I can explain a couple more things. But here on the event, on the backside of the event page, this is what you should see once your event is created. You have the options of changing details and canceling the event. So let's go ahead and change details, and I'll walk you through more of this form. So we're going to go ahead and skip this. So we've talked about just adding basic details for the event request. So let's go ahead and click next. So here we have the RSVP section. So here you have the option of, selecting the type of RSVPs. Is it open to anyone? Is it only open to people that you invite? Or is it not open to anyone? You can also select the number or limit the number of available RSVP spots if your event is taking place in a space that, there are a max number of people that could be in that space. You can go ahead and set that to that max number, or adjust, use whatever RCP spots you want to allow. You can also allow guests to RSVP, and you can limit the number of guests per RSVP. You can allow the respondents to represent an organization. You can also make that required. You can also create RSVP questions. So a good one to add is if you are hosting an event with food, you may want to have a dietary restrictions type of question for students or folks to answer. That way, we're making sure that they have, of course, food there that they are able to eat safely. So we definitely would want to know about an individual's dietary restrictions. So once you've set this up, we're going to go ahead and click next. And here you're going to see the post-event feedback. So this is a really great tool to use if you're wanting to request feedback on your event. It is always a good idea to do this, even if it's just a couple of simple questions. That way, you have feedback and are able to make improvements to your event, just based on what attendees had to say. It's always good to innovate and improve any programming that you're wanting that you host, especially on an annual or semesterly basis. So once you create these questions, you can go ahead and schedule this. A post-event feedback will be sent out once the event ends, and individuals will have up to 72 hours to respond right after that notification is sent. So once you schedule that, we're going to click next. And here you'll provide a cover photo for the event. So you are welcome to use, create your own designs or images to represent the event. Just make sure that you follow the dimensions that you see on screen and that you are using the appropriate file type and file size as well. So we're going to go ahead and click skip once we're done with that. And I'm actually going to pause on this page here. So you, as the student that is submitting the event request, will not see the skip custom fields, right? We only have access to do that because we are the department on campus, and we don't necessarily, have to answer the additional questions that are under the custom fields that only apply to student clubs and orgs. So to continue within the within the event request form, you're going to go ahead and continue to custom fields, and that is going to have you answer some more logistical type questions for your event. I'm actually not going to click on this right now because I could easily take another couple hours or a couple of hours going through each of the questions we do ask there. But just know that you're going to continue to custom fields, and that is going to have you answer some additional logistical type of questions that have to do with your event. Just please go ahead and answer all of the questions. And of course, if we have any questions after the fact, once that event request was submitted, we will follow up with you via TitanLink to just go ahead and schedule or to discuss, those logistical event things, or to follow up with an SLO consultation meeting with our Assistant Director of Campus Activities to walk you through resolving some of those logistical setbacks that you may encounter, that we may encounter within the form and with your event. So we're going to actually go back to the main screen here, and we're going to go back to events. And as I mentioned, once your event is created and let's say it got approved, you have a couple of options here where these three lines are for your event, or dots, I should say. If you click that, You can view invitations and RSVPs. You can add attendance. So let's just say that you have some students signing up to attend the event the day of, and they didn't RSVP through the main page. You can always, take their information down, and we can always add attendance at a later time through an Excel sheet, exporting that onto the event request. You can also view the event in Explore. So if we go ahead and click this, you'll see what this looks like, right? So this is what the event is going to look like on that events page here. And then there should be an option to RSVP. Of course, there isn't one here because this event was created in 2021, so that registration has since passed. But yeah, once your event is created and approved, you will have the option to RSVP, or students will have the option to RSVP in this section here. And of course, if there are any questions with your event requests, we do encourage you to make comments on the event request form that you submit. You can do so by opening the form. And you, of course, would also change details. So you can do that by changing any details. If things change, please go ahead and provide us with those changes. If you have to cancel the event for some reason, you can go ahead and do that by clicking on your event and then clicking cancel event. And that, of course, will cancel the event. All right, so we're gonna move on. So let's see, this was the event. So now let's talk about the news section here. And within the news section, you have the ability to create different types of news articles. They could be for meetings, programming, whatever you want to promote about your club, you are able to create a newsletter and share that out via link. And it's just another great way for you to promote your events happening on campus, right? So you will fill out the information here. So title, summary, a body, you are able to add images. You are able to also insert links. You can also add or drop a file here for the news article's picture. And then down below here, we have the visibility options. So as we mentioned before, public will allow anyone to view your information in that news section. If you want it to be the institution, only those that have the CSUF credentials, have access to TitanLink, are able to view that information. If you have it if you select organization, it's only going to be visible by the club members and the organization itself. If you set this to private, this will allow you to, of course, keep the information that you've created private to you only. This is a great option to select if you are working on a rough draft news article. But if you're working with it on your team and it's not ready to be shared yet, then you would want to, of course, make the visibility set to private. Once it's set to private, you are able to share this with other members. So, for example, the treasurer would see it. The event planner would see it, right? You can select different positions that would have access to make edits at a later time. You can also have positions that there's also positions that will always have access, such as the faculty advisor, the president, the treasurer, right? Any of those positions. And once your news article is up, as I mentioned, you will be able to see it in the news section here. So as you can see, we have information about Discoverfest, which again, is happening August 27th and the 28th. So there's more information about Discoverfest here that you can refer to. But if we go back, you'll also see LeadCon, right? So we have information on that. Any online makeup options will be visible within this newsletter here. And then we also have club registration. So as you can see, this is a really great way to share information, share links about anything that is happening within the organization. So just, be mindful that this is a tool that you have access to use to help promote, any of those meetings or campus programming. All right, so we're going to continue on. So let's go to the documents section here. So the documents feature is a really great way for you to add documents, of course, files, create folders. It is a great way for you to organize all of your club documents all in one space. So you have two options up here at the top right corner. You have the add file and the add folder. We're going to go ahead and click the sample folder that I've created, which is called Club Documents. So if you click those, here you'll see that I've added a folder for meeting agendas, meeting minutes. You are able to establish permissions for who is able to view this information. So for example, let's say your agendas and minutes, you want those to be a little bit more private. Maybe you just want the organization to have access to those. You can set those permissions for any folders or files, and here you have the options of public, anyone on campus, organization, roster, or specific positions only. And you can go ahead and check the box and um, let these individuals know that they would have access to view that information. So you can go ahead and set permissions for, of course, folders and documents themselves. But that is the documents feature. Again, it's a really great way for you to keep everything in one place. It is tied to your club's profile. And we do recommend that you use it and maybe store information in this section throughout the year, especially come time where you're having to elect new members into the organization. You have some helpful transition type of information that the new members could receive from our office or have access to before they are voted into the organization as full-time members, right? So you are able to have some transition type of documents here that would be helpful to pass along to new folks later on. All right, so let's talk about forms. We have a couple more features to get through here. So the forms feature, which is in the name, right? It allows you to create different types of forms for to meet whatever you're wanting to accomplish within the organization. So, for example, if you are at Discoverfest and you're recruiting members, you want them to fill out a new member request form or a new member interest form, you can go ahead and create that form and you can share it as a QR code or a link at Discoverfest. So that's an example. But let's say you want to create a form. So you're going to go ahead and click these three dots and click Create Form. Here, you're going to fill out some of the basic information and you're going to establish some of the form properties. So the name of the form, you can set the active from, active until dates. You can go ahead and allow for public users to submit this form. You can allow for multiple submissions. You can request or require a review and approval process. So this would come in handy maybe for, you create a candidate form that you're wanting to use for elections, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But this is something that you would send candidates, and maybe you have some of the board members review these forms, right, to see if these candidates are a right fit for the organization. So you can establish any of these different types of form properties as well. So yeah, really great stuff here. If you go back to this queue, we're going to actually work with the form that was previously created. That way I can continue to kind of go through it on the back end. But if you click on the three dots, you click Edit Forms or Form Questions. Here you're going to see the different types of questions that you can ask in the form. So for example, we have instructions. We have a radio button list, which is a select one option. We have a ranking system, a drop-down list. You can also do a text field. You can upload a file, and you can also have a check mark question or statement as well. So this would come in handy for any new members that don't know the club rules, policies, expectations that you're wanting to set. Maybe there's a little agreement that you create here for new members. That way they are aware of what's expected when it comes to being part of that student club or organization. So you have these options here in terms of questions to add to your form. So we're going to go back and we're going to go ahead and click these three dots again. And once your organization or the form is created, when the form is created, you're going to go ahead and click Share. And here you're going to have two options. You can use the URL, copy and paste that. You can share that out to students, or you can use a QR code that will, of course, allow them to complete the form as well. You can also export the different submissions that you have. You can export them as an Excel sheet or a PDF. This would be great to do just to pull data from your form, right? And create it or have it be created into an Excel sheet. Another thing I'll mention is that you are able to copy and duplicate forms. Let's say you have a new member form every year, right? You don't necessarily have to delete that. You can archive it, but before archiving it, you can go ahead and copy and have a duplicate copy be created where you are able to edit for the new year. But within this system here, we don't necessarily delete things, we archive them. So you can always archive your form. That way, it is still within TitanLink, but just not as a visible option or a clickable option within your queue here. So let's go ahead now and talk about elections. So we have a couple more features to get through, but the elections are a really important part of course, selecting those new members into the organization and voting them in. So to create an election, you're going to go ahead and click on Create Election. And here you will give the election a name. You can add instructions. You can also, of course, set the start date and time and the end date and time. There's a little check box for activating the election. If it's not ready though, you'll uncheck that. And you can also set up a display alert on your organization's homepage when the election is active and voting is open. So you have, those options there. Once you've filled out this information, we're going to go ahead and click Save. But we're actually going to do this. So we've already created an election example here. So once you save your information, you will have the option to create ballots. So I'm going to go ahead and click this to show you what that looks like. Here is the information that we've already discussed, right? The basic information. If you click on ballots, here you are able to create as many ballots as you'd like to basically go over the things that the students are voting on or your organization is voting on. So if you go ahead and click the Tuffy Fan Club Spring Elections, this is a ballot that I've created with only two agenda items to be voted on. So the first, of course, would be the president and the chair, and the second would be the amendments to the Constitution. So again, you can create as many ballots as you would like, or you can have them be part of just one ballot. And you have the option to, create questions out of check boxes, radio button lists, text field, instructions, and ranking. So let's say you've done this and you've created your ballot. I want to show you a couple more things. If you go to results, once the elections have closed, you'll see percentages of number of total votes cast and the total number of voters that, of course, voted within this election. You can also export that data, right? You can export all votes or export all voters. If you click on the publishing options, here you will see an election link that you will share out to your members or to those that are voting. And of course, this will only be active once your election is currently active in those previous sections that I shared under the property section. As I mentioned before, you can also display this as an alert on your organization homepage when the election is active and voting is open. All right, and that sums up the elections feature. So I didn't mention it before, but of course you want to make sure that you are following whatever it says in your constitution in terms of, voting in new members and that process that you should be following. However, you are welcome to use any other ways or means or softwares for you to host these elections. But this is a great feature that is already integrated into your club's page. It's also nice because you will have a record of any elections that your organization has hosted in the past. Like, it's nice that it's all in one system. So, I do encourage you to use this feature, see how it works for you. And of course, if it's not one that works for you, you are welcome to use other ways to elect new members. But again, this is a free feature available for you to use within TitanLink. All right, so this is the last feature that I will be reviewing today, but it is the service hours feature. So within TitanLink, you have the ability to record service hours. So, maybe they're community service hours. You are able to record those and have them on record, within your TitanLink profile. You also have the ability to record hours on behalf of an organization. That way you can see, the average number of hours for the organization as a whole. Like if multiple members are doing community service for that organization, there is a way to view that data. And I'll go ahead and show you that in just a sec here. But let's say you want to add service hours, for the club that you're a part of. We're going to go ahead and click add service hours. And here you're just going to fill out some basic information. You're going to make sure that you are selecting the organization that you are recording the service hours for. You're going to search for your name or email. You're going to go ahead and add a description of the community service that you completed, as well as adding the date, hours, and the minutes of that service. And of course, if you are working with another department or a faculty staff member for community service hours and they are the leads of that project, you'll want to make sure that you include their email address here. That way they are able to verify those hours. Once you list an email address here, that email or the hours that they need to approve, they will receive an email with that information to approve. Let's say that your organization is the one hosting the community service opportunity and you yourself are the lead on that project. You can certainly also add your information here and approve your own service hours and the hours of other members as well. Okay, so let me actually go back to this page here. I want to show you what this looks like once you have added those service hours in. If you go ahead and click approved, you're going to see an example here. So let's go ahead and view this example. As you can see, this is how the service hours will be recorded, submitted by myself on this following date and time. The organization was Tuffy Fan Club, the dates that I volunteered, what I did, the duration, and then of course, I, just as an example, used myself as a verification contact. So I did receive a notification about my hours, and I did go ahead and review and approve them. So this is what they will look like once you, submit that request and that verification person approves those hours. Now, let's say that you're wanting to review hours from the organization as a whole. So if you have other members that are doing community service and they're tracking their hours, then this is how you would go ahead and view the organization's community service as a whole. If you go ahead and click on your profile picture at the top right corner, you're going to go ahead and click service hours. Here you will see the organization. So right now we don't have anything listed because we're not a club or organization that has done community service. But for example, if your club has done community service and there were several members within that group doing, or serving, you would see your organization's name here and then the duration of hours, right? So it really does break it down nicely to where you could see all of the hours that the organization has completed through, of course, other members within your club. So yeah, that is a pretty cool feature there. I would say that, some of the benefits, of course, of, recording your service hours with TitanLink is one, we will use service hours for some community service type of awards at Tuffy Awards next year. So we do look at those service hours and we go based off of this information here. It's also great to just have a record of things that you've done, things that you were involved with here at Cal State Fullerton. So let's just say that, you graduate and you're interviewing for jobs and it's in a specific area or field of interest that your past community service, is relevant to. I would say that it's great to have a record to refer back to. That way, those potential employers see how involved you were at your university. And of course, we would provide that stamp of approval to say that, you did fulfill or you did do a lot of community service here at this university, and of course, you'd be a really qualified candidate for whichever position you're wanting to apply to. But yeah, service hours are another great way for potential future employers to just see how active you were, and especially being active in a relevant field for what you're going for is going to be very beneficial in you landing that job, right? So yeah, we can provide the approval of these hours and share the records with you. That way, these outside employers or institutions are able to see that proof and confirmation that you, of course, did a lot of community service at Cal State Fullerton. So, a couple of notes there with service hours. But that about wraps up our time here for the key TitanLink feature session. If you do ever have any questions, please email us at studentlife@fullerton.edu. We're always happy to support you, and of course, resolving any technical TitanLink issues that you may experience within your club pages. But with that, I'll go ahead and end here. And thank you so much for your time and attention to this presentation. Thanks.